and welcome to the Nightmare on X Street podcast. I am your host, Andromeda Jones. This is where women come to talk about horror stories about ex relationships, ex husbands, ex situationships, whatever your ex may be. We come here and we talk about it in a safe and inviting space, free of judgment, and just to teach other women the warning signs that we may have missed. So far, the guests have been amazing. I appreciate every woman that has given me the opportunity to shine light on their story, no matter how horrible it may be. I'm appreciative of all resources that have been offered to assist those ladies on the back end or any other ladies that may need assistance. Without further ado, I will bring on my first guest and allow her to introduce herself. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. So go ahead and let everyone know your name and anything else you'd like them to know about you.
Well, my name is Lexis Charday. I am a comedian. I've been doing comedy for 12 years, and I currently live in the Pacific Northwest.
Perfect. So here we just have a few rules. I ask that you not say names. I ask that you not give like the location it happened. If you were in Wichita, Kansas, don't give the age, like, oh, I was a freshman in college. And it's just because if it's something that's important to the story, absolutely. But it's just for your protection. We don't want this person to come back to come after you. We don't want you in a situation where somebody says, well, oh, she's lying. I knew her freshman year in college. She wasn't dating anybody. So
Yeah.
I just ask that you're truthful and upfront with your story so that we just get all the facts and women know what to look for and what to run away from. So I'll start with, how did you meet this person that is your ex horror story?
Well, I have two ex horror stories.
Okay. Well, the first one, let's start with that one.
So my daughter's dad, I met him when I was living in a metropolitan city, and at a nightclub. Yeah, and there was a lot of celebrities there, and he has like his best friend is a celebrity, and his celebrity friend was macking on my girlfriend, and I was just kind of like, I already knew what they were about, and I was like, no, let's not even entertain that. And he was trying to get me to like come hang out with them at the studio after the club, and I was like, nah, I'm not about to do that. And so he's like, all right, well, he was asking for my number, and I'm like, look, if you call me anytime tonight, I'm not picking up the phone. Like, don't call me tonight. I'm not coming to hang out with you. And he's like, all right, well, then I'll call you tomorrow. So, and my weak spot being a comedian is, guys making me laugh,
Absolutely.
So he called me the next day. He asked me to go to lunch with him, and he came to see me at my place, and we hung out and watched TV and laughed, and he was like really cool. And we talked a lot on the phone, and he went overseas on tour with his friend, and he came back and we hooked up, and he did what is called stealthing. I didn't learn. Do you know what that is?
They removed the protection without your knowledge.
Yeah. So like we switched positions from like missionary to like doggy style, and he ripped off the protection, and I didn't know. And I didn't realize till after we were finished, and he just kind of laughed it off, and I was on birth control. So I was kind of freaking out, and I went and I got Plan B, and about 6-8 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant, and I was like, how is that possible?
No, wait.
Yeah.
So it didn't work.
Yeah. So that's when I learned that apparently if you're over 150 pounds,
or something
you have to take 2 pills. Yeah.
So you can't take 2. Because Just Niche has a joke about that where she was like, do I just take 2? So you do have to take 2 if you're over.
Yeah. I wrote a joke about it too.
Oh no.
So I'm at Planned Parenthood, and I found out that I'm pregnant. I'm like, just fresh out of college, and just like life flashing before my eyes. And so I knew it was him, and I called him to tell him, and his phone number was disconnected. So I was like,
Did he have an inkling that you were? Do you
I
think?
honestly, looking back, and knowing what I know now, I think he was purposely impregnating women. Um, and when we were talking, he told me that he just had one daughter, and we started like we got in contact again through email, and like he just like wasn't calling, he wasn't getting back to me. I'm like, I need to know like what you want to do. Like I'm contemplating like moving across the country to be with my family. And he was like, no, I want to be a man. I want to have a family and all this stuff. And he was always promising to like come visit me after he was done in the studio, and he would never come. It was always like all these promises and none of his actions matched up to it at all. Um, so I did some digging to kind of find out like who am I dealing with here, and I found his other baby mom that I knew about. Um, Something happened, like there was a slip up. Like I listened to his voicemail and it was his daughter, and I was like, "Oh, is that your daughter so and so?" And he goes, "That's not my daughter's name. My daughter's name is this." And I had in text previously what he said his daughter's name was. So that's when I was like, something's not adding up. So I started like digging, and I found out that he had like 3 other baby mamas, and he was lying about how many children he had. And yeah, so then I met up with the other baby moms and got to hear their stories, and I'm like, this person is like, I think he's bipolar or something. Like there's something not right. There's something not right with the nuts and bolts. So long story short, for years I was always like kind of, when you get in your ego and you kind of like self-pity yourself, like, why isn't this working out? I don't understand, because I tried to keep an open door policy with him. I was like, hey, anytime you want to see her. I eventually moved out of state to be with family to like kind of get back up on my feet. And I was only a state away. But so every time we would go back to where he was at, I would let him know, like, hey, we're coming in town. If you want to schedule a visit to see our daughter, like, let me know. And he just wouldn't, he wouldn't respond. And so I always, tried to be kind, respectful, keep an open door policy. And then there were times where he would be like, well, you're keeping our daughter from me. And I'm like, what? This is crazy. So I got into my ego a lot. Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm trying to be like a good mom and trying to co-parent. You hear all these stories about men that are trying to be in their kids' lives and the baby mamas being bitches or whatever. And here I am, flipped the tape, it's like the reverse other side. But last year I learned that he got in an altercation with a younger woman that he was dating, and he's allegedly stabbed her. The news stories there's mixed stories on what happened, but he murdered her and then ran from the cops and then took his own life. And when I learned that, I was just like, okay, now I understand why it never worked out. That could have, and it's it was a lot of emotions that I went through. Yeah.
So since then, have you tried to like reach out to his family to see if they would like to be involved with your daughter? Or
no, because I've tried in the past, and one of my daughter's half sisters, I still talk to her mom pretty often, and we keep in touch. And her daughter, the school that her daughter goes to, my ex's mom works there. She's like the crossing guard lady, and she sees her other granddaughter every day and never even acknowledges her and knows that it's her. And there's just something with that family that doesn't sit right with me.
So do they acknowledge any of the children?
I don't think so.
Do you know how many there are in total?
I know that before my daughter, there is 3. And when I was going through like child support and all of that, I learned later that there was another case that opened up after my daughter. So I know that there's at least five, and they're all girls. Yeah.
Was the other young lady that was taken out, was she also, did she also have a child, or just a girlfriend?
No, she was just a girlfriend, and I know she was younger, like in her 20s, and
Okay.
I think she was like a plus size model, kind of doing some, like OnlyFans type of things, and which a lot of people found interesting because like after I got pregnant by him and I started like learning who, because I couldn't get in touch with him on the phone, so I was like trying to find him online, and so like I found like his Twitter account and like his Instagram, and I started seeing who at least who he was putting out in public on who he was, and it was a completely different person. He would fat shame girls. He would be at the strip club, like throwing money at girls, like filming girls. He had like this foot fetish, and he would always like post pictures of him with like feet near his face, completely disrespectful towards women. And he didn't like bigger women. He would fat shame women. So it was like a big surprise when it was revealed that he was dating this bigger woman, and she was absolutely gorgeous, and I feel terrible for her family. And a lot of people wonder if he always really liked bigger women but was too afraid to
But
admit it.
so,
I don't
yeah,
know.
he was
Yeah.
ashamed. Public
Hmm.
perception, especially in the entertainment industry,
Yeah.
there's a lot of worried about public perception. So when I see anybody love anybody out loud, as they say, I'm always excited for them because
Yeah.
there's a colorism issue. I don't know, I doubt if it's called sizeism, but sizeism issue.
Sexism, yeah.
That's probably not a word, but I can't think right now what it would be. But yeah, there's a shame
Mhm.
based on certain physical attributes for
Yeah.
sure in this
Yeah.
industry. So have you had to explain how old is your daughter now?
14.
Have you had to explain any of this to her? Is she understanding or
Yeah. When I first found out, I didn't tell her the whole story because I wasn't sure if she was like ready for it, but
Mhm.
eventually, like about 6 months later, 8 months later, I explained the whole story to her so she could understand, because I didn't want her to find out on her own and feel like I lied to her. I try to
Absolutely.
be very open and honest with her. I always have tried to been very open and honest with her about my relationship with him. And I always just tried to not speak poorly about him because I wanted her to form her own opinion about him. Like my
I
dad
was going to
wasn't around
comment
when I
on
was
that.
little. Yeah.
It's admirable that you kept trying to reach out, even though
Hmm.
he kind of rejected it every turn. Because most people would just give up and say, forget it. So that's admirable that you kept trying for her sake, because I'm sure it
Yeah.
wasn't you.
No, definitely wasn't for me.
Yeah, so that's good. But I'm also grateful that he refused because it could have been you,
Yeah.
in a
Hmm.
situation that went the other direction. So blessings, there's a
Yeah.
blessing in the curse, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely made me open up my eyes to, because I have abandonment issues from when I was younger. And I think that's why I've like over the years have like attracted these like toxic relationships or these toxic people into my life. And I'm starting to realize that like over the years, I always had a problem when someone would reject me or someone didn't like me, and be like, why me? Like I'm this amazing person. I like me, like I think I'm fun. I think I'm a nice person. Like I don't understand why you don't like me or why you don't want to date me or whatever. And that's like after he passed and seeing like, okay, like there was a reason why I was rejected. Like rejection is a form of protection, and to not dwell or cry over like closed doors or closed opportunities, because it's for a reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And kudos to you for the self-awareness, because I think a lot of women either don't want to or don't see what causes them to date a certain type of person or to put themselves in certain situations, myself included. In my
Yeah.
40s now, I'm able to see, man, I was so messed up. That's why I was ended up with this person, because I was unsure of me. So it was so much easier to go with, well, he likes me. So
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty dope. So I think that a lot of us have fallen into that pattern. Not all of us, because I know somebody gonna say, not me. Well,
Hmm.
great for you. But not everyone all their life feels like they deserve more than what they are getting. Because sometimes if you're getting just the one thing that you want, you look away from everything that is things you do not want. Like you definitely don't want, but just like, well, I really wanted this though. And he's buying flowers. I really wanted these flowers. Yeah, but he cusses you out before he gives them to you. That's why
Yeah.
you're getting
You
them.
wanted the
Like,
flowers, right? Yeah. I'll
yeah,
buy
here's
myself some
flowers.
flowers.
Yeah. So great for you realizing the thing in you that you were lacking and hopefully have improved upon and are able to say never again will I
Yeah.
fall into that. And I hope your daughter sees your strength and your growth, because I think we don't realize our kids see. They may not know what to call it, but they see something is not there and they can see, because my own daughter, she's 24, she's seen my growth over
Hmm.
the years, and you don't realize they're watching.
Yeah, they're definitely watching. Yeah.
Even if they don't know what it is, they know there is something. Even if they don't see it in that moment, they see the change and they're able to go back and say, you know what? I remember this. It wasn't
Hmm.
like this.
Hmm.
So great job for that.
Thank you. And
You're
side
welcome.
note for you, that melanin is just, you got to glow up. You said you're in your 40s, girl. I
Yeah,
do
I'll be
not believe
42 in
that.
2 weeks.
You look
I'll be
amazing.
42 in 2 weeks.
You
I'm
have like
excited
the
to.
most amazing skin too. It's just like clear and glowing.
It's a mess. It's a mess. It just looks. I have good skin days.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
allergic to dairy. Totally off topic, but I'm allergic to dairy, so it gives me a rash around my eyes. So
Oh
that's why
wow.
I'm wearing my glasses to cover it, because
Hmm.
I ate some chocolate. I know not to drink milk. I don't drink milk anyway, but
Good.
I'll forget and do something like eat a Butterfinger, and I'm like crap, and then I get a rash like around my this whole part of my mouth. So I'm struggling, battling that right now. But I refuse to put makeup on top of it because I'm an adult and things happen to us.
I can't tell. It just looks like your lips are luscious.
That's lip gloss, girl. But anyway, so you said you have another story. So
Yeah.
that story ended in tragedy. Thank God, not on your part.
Hmm.
Blessing that you're still here to raise your daughter. Unfortunate, she lost a parent in the situation. Prayers for her, and I hope she's able to find a male figure, or you've found male figures to place in her life to give her that other parental aspect. Even though it's not her father, there are people that can be great father figures and mentors for youth that don't have a parent that's present.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
So my second story is with my son's father. Um, we've known each other for a really long time, like since childhood. And we reconnected through my comedy. I had gotten into a comedy festival a number of years back, and he came to, and it was in my home state. And he
oh
came
wait, I'm
to
sorry. Before you start, did your daughter ever get to meet her father? I meant to ask that.
one time.
Well, okay, was
Yeah.
it intentional? Like he purposely came for the intent of meeting her, or
Kind of. So he was coming to the city we're living in because he was with his best friend on tour. They had a concert. And so during that time, he got his like passport revoked because he wasn't paying all of his child support in all of his cases. So pretty much he was like coercing all of us mothers to drop the child support cases, pause the child support cases. And he was promising that he was going to pay us like in cash each, so he could get his passport reinstated so he could travel overseas. So I agreed to it just because I had called the child support department and asked them, like, okay, well, what happens if this stops? They're like, pretty much we just won't enforce payments during that time, but you can reinstate it and we could start enforcing it. But you would lose the money from those months that it wasn't enforced. And I'm like, okay. So I did it, and he was sending me like $500, which is more than what was ordered. He was sending me like $500 a month, and I think he sent it like twice. And then he sent like a bunch of birthday gifts to her one time, and it was very short span, like 3 months, where he was like just more involved. And from what I heard at that time, he was dating a woman or married a woman, and she was a really positive influence on him and like encouraging him to like work on his relationships with all of his daughters. So like I was learning from the other mothers that like he was like being more involved and like taking, because they were close to him, he was meeting his daughters and taking them out, going to Chuck E. Cheese and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, okay, like this is a good turn of events. And then he stopped paying and, went ghost. And so I like reestablished a child support. And then that's when the disrespect started again because he was upset. Yeah. But during that time, he was in town and he was having a concert, and he told me that he was going to be in town, and he asked like to take us out to lunch. And so that was the she was like 4, I think at the time, 4 or
Okay.
5. Yeah.
Does she have any pictures of him or with him
We took one picture at that when we
at the
went to go
lunch?
get pizza, and that's the only picture that we have. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So
hopefully his family sees this and decides to reach out. It's never too late if you and your daughter are open to it. Hopefully, because I
yeah,
think
I
it's
mean,
important to know she can't know him, so it's even more important to know that side of him for any child.
yeah. Well, she is in touch with one of her sisters, and
Okay.
we try to get them together when she goes to visit like her godparents and stuff. So at least she has that connection with her. And I think as they, teenagers can be awkward, but I think as they grow up, hopefully that bond will be stronger. But they spent a lot of time together when they were like babies. Like I got a lot of pictures of them as toddlers. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I meant to ask earlier.
No, that's fine. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the second story, your son's father.
Yeah, so we reconnected through a comedy festival or whatever, and pretty much we talked a lot after that, like through like social media, and a lot of flirting. But because of how we knew each other growing up, like my father is like really close with like his uncles, and so I was kind of like raised around him like a cousin, even though we weren't blood related. And so I always had a crush on him when I was little. And so like when he would flirt with me, all the men in all the men in his family are flirtatious. And I remember being little and some of those men saying things to me that were just kind of like looking back, like I knew it was weird, like saying things like watch out for when she turns 18, like stuff like that. Like it's just
Yeah.
kind of,
I think you
um,
disregarded in the moment. By hindsight, you're like, I was a kid. You shouldn't have even been thinking that way to even say that.
yeah. And when I was little, like a lot of people will call me Sexy Lexi, which was like kind of weird too. It was different when it's like your friends, but
Yeah,
like adult family
adults.
members, like weird. So yeah, anyways, the flirting got stronger and stronger and stronger. And there was like multiple times where like I was just like, do I really want to cross that line or not? And we had a lot of late night conversations, and I was like confiding in him and like my dating life. And one time we were talking and I was telling him about how like this guy like ghosted me, and I was just kind of like giving up. I've always been kind of like a hopeless romantic, and I've learned recently that I guess what I've been suffering from is limerence. Are you familiar with that term?
I am not.
It's pretty much like a love sickness. It comes from deep abandonment issues or like abandonment trauma wounds, and you become so obsessed with the idea of like being in love that you'll literally just like ignore all the red flags because you're so so desperate to be in love, like just a desperate ass bitch. So that learning that phrase, I was like, holy crap, like that explains a lot why I have these issues. So pretty much it was through text, so I still don't know the tone behind it, but the tone, it triggered something in me. And looking back, that was like the first red flag, because pretty much what he said, not verbatim, but he said something along the lines of like, I always hear you kind of talking about these clowns, and you have a real one right in front of you, and it takes something to know the difference. So pretty much he like said something to like in a way it was attacking like my intelligence, I guess, that I'm not recognizing that there's this real dude right in front of me and I should be taking the opportunity to be with him, but instead I'm friend zoning him. And so like I was
So
like,
are you two close in age? The two of you?
no,
Okay.
he's about 8 years older than me.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, we are, but we aren't, So when he said that, it made me start second guessing myself. And looking back, this is where the psychological manipulation started, and I'm like, oh, like So he's not just flirting with me. He actually is interested in me. And yeah, he is a good guy and all these things. And so it started making me explore that. And then he started professing how he felt about me and saying all these things. And then, like, from that point, so that was, trying to think of the time point. So 5 months later, I had moved out of state to be with him, and we bought a house together. That's how fast it moved.
And was that at his request, or?
It was kind of weird because, like, I definitely wanted it. And because of everything that I had been through, because I had someone that was like from my past, and this is someone that I've known my whole life and someone that I've considered family, I was so confident that this person would never do me wrong. That's why I was willing to move as fast as I did. And there were conversations about, like, you know, first he wanted to move to where I was. And I had just bought my first house out there on my own as a single mom, like busting my ass in real estate. And I asked him, like, can you picture yourself living here with us until we found something bigger that could accommodate all of us? And like, after he was like saying, oh yeah, I think I want to move out there. I think I want to do this. I think I want to do that. And then when I asked him that question, just like without hesitation, he was like, no, I think that you should move here. And I was already open to that idea because all my family's there. So I was like, okay. And so the goal was to keep my house in Arizona. Sorry.
That's okay.
Keep my house in Arizona and rent it out and have it as an investment property. And because of things that were happening, this was around the time that the pandemic was happening. The loan officer, when we were getting our stuff together to qualify for the house to buy together, they're pretty much like, it's too high risk to have you qualify over rental income, so we're not going to allow it. So they're like, if you want to qualify for this house, you're going to have to sell your residence. And my grandfather, one of my really good friends, they were like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't sell your house. Like, you need to have a backup plan in case something doesn't work out. And that was the second red flag that I ignored. And I was like, well, yeah, it is kind of scary, but I've known him since I was little. He knows what I've been through. We kind of have, like, you know, I should have recognized then that it was a trauma bond.
Yeah.
You know, because we had a lot of the same wounds. And I was like, I'm going to be fine, you know? So I sold the house, packed up all my stuff. He didn't help me move. At one point he tried to coerce me into packing up my stuff like a month before I was supposed to move. He said that he would have his dad come out and help me because his dad was traveling back and forth. They drive like big trucks and stuff. And I'm like, I can't get all my stuff packed up in just 2 days and then live out of a suitcase and not have anything to sleep on for a month. Like, that doesn't work. And he's like, okay, well, just don't say I didn't try to help you. And I'm like, that was weird. So that was like the third flag that I ignored. And then at one point in the middle of like us, like, my house is on the market. I already have like accepted an offer and everything. And like, so I had done what's called like a lease back on my house. So like, I rented the house back from the new owner for like a month. So I had enough time to get the next house and move. So like, pretty much like my house was almost already sold. It was like close to closing day. And every time the loan officer would like ask him for specific documents, he would get like really frustrated. And I noticed that he was kind of technologically challenged. Like, anytime that he wanted to fly out or needed to do something online, he would ask me to do it because he would have too much anxiety about it. And so he would have like these like kind of like freakouts, or I guess like rages. I don't really know how to describe it, but he would just be like, I can't deal with this. And I wouldn't hear from him for like a day or two. Like, he would just like radio silence.
Just over having to use a computer.
Yeah. Or like they asked me for these financial documents and I already gave these to them. And I'm just like, okay, like I'll deal with the loan officer. And so I told the loan officers, like, please don't call him and ask him for anything. If you need anything, just go through me. Cause I was just trying to keep him calm. And I'm like, these are all the
Yeah,
signs
red
for me
flag.
not to go,
Yeah.
but like, and I can't regret anything now because like we have an amazing son. My son is just, oh my God, like,
So you already had your son, or did this
no.
happen? Okay.
Yeah. So after everything got finalized and we moved into the house, I found out New Year's Eve that I was pregnant. And so like when we when we found out how many weeks I was, I looked back, I was like,